Hi, Danielle. How are you today?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for Zooming with me today and sharing your proposal presentation with me and my EDLS 710 class. Uh, as a little bit of an introduction, again, you are Danielle Greer, and I know you as one of my many doctoral interns. We had class together through the EDCI program a couple of years back, and you are currently an employee in Cleveland County Schools.
That's correct. And I am a curriculum technology coordinator at my school.
Excellent. And you've been working for a while on this proposal, but we got you to a proposal defense on June 12th, and you successfully completed that. Congratulations.
Yes.
So thank you for helping to make this a teaching opportunity for some of my other doctoral interns. And Danielle, what we're seeing in front of us now is your proposal presentation. About how many slides is it altogether? Do you remember?
This is roughly somewhere between 10 and 12 slides.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was more than that, but okay. I'm going to let you present it as you did at your June 12th defense, and I'll be quiet for a while, and then at the end I'd like to come back and talk with you about process, about how you got to this point of the dissertation process.
Okay.
Okay. Take it away, Ms. Greer.
Okay. The title of this research is Efficacy of a Summer Math Academy Program to Improve Student Motivation and Student Knowledge and Skills in a Rural Southeastern Community. And the purpose was to evaluate how effective the Math Academy is in preventing summer learning loss. It has been in operation now for 10 summers. And the Community Math Academy was developed in 2008 by a group, a Close the Gap group and 3 passionate visionaries. It operates as a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Originally, it was developed to target specifically minority students who were performing below grade level. At this point, it targets any student within the district that can benefit from that math instruction that's given 3 weeks in July. And it does serve students from grades 3rd up through 6th grade. The mission of Community Math Academy is to educate children to advance their skills and then empower them to be lifelong learners. And the motto around the program is I am, I can, and I will. I am is the affirmation used to empower students about who they are. And then I can is an affirmation that's used to empower them about what they're capable of doing. Like I am capable of multiplying and dividing, and I can do my homework, and I will is the last affirmation. And it just says what students will do. Like I will do homework nightly, and I will raise my hand in class when I have trouble. The vision of the program is for students to achieve their potential in an environment that's inspiring and engaging and challenging. And then the overall is to help students develop positive feelings towards math while improving their math skills.
May I interrupt here for a minute?
You can.
Okay. And by the way, during your presentation, we didn't interrupt you, right? We saved our questions till the end?
You did, yes.
Yeah. But was kind of significant, I think, that you shared with us that your real goal here is to have the kids not come back, right?
Yes, that is the real goal, because the mission seeks, honestly, to empower students in such a way that their math skills improve. And so we want to see them, so to speak, graduate from our program, and not to see them summer after summer. We do have the privilege and the honor of having students who have actually been enrolled in our program and have improved their skills come back as actual teacher assistants and help within classrooms. And that's absolutely amazing. It's almost like a give back for them right within the community. So that's some of the success of what we've been able to do.
Good. But though you serve grades 3, 4, 5, 6, your goal, you hope, is for them not to come back.
Right. That is the goal. Right.
And I'll try not to interrupt you again. Go ahead.
Oh, no, that's fine. A piece of the historical data, this graph here shows community, the parent involvement. And what happens during those 3 weeks in July, the parents are called in to have parent involvement weekly sessions, and it's one time each week. And so like on a Tuesday night, parents will come together. And this graph shows data from 2009 up to 2014. And it just shows gradually how the parent involvement has increased, which is a good thing, from 48% in 2009 up to 70% in 2014. So it's the hope of the Math Academy that we'll continue to see this improvement. And another piece of that historical data, these are first and second quarter grades, and these are students who have participated in the Math Academy. These are particularly third graders, and so what you see now, if you'll focus in on the A at the bottom, students that made a grade of A, and the dark gray graph shows the first quarter grade, and then the second quarter grade is the lighter gray. And so if you add across the graph, it's 7 for A, and then it's 31, I'm in the dark gray area, for a grade of B, and then 37 for a grade of C, which totals up to 78 students when you look all the way across where it says at the bottom, total C and above. And I guess that really needs to say grade to be a little more clear. That's a grade of C or above, 78 students for that first quarter, and then 81 students for the second quarter had a grade of C and above. And then there are some students who don't do as well, and so they had a grade of D and lower. That number looks at 20 students the first quarter and then 19 students the second quarter.
So you have some historical data there.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, I am at this time gathering more. So there is more historical data that I will add into the actual paper itself. And then as far as summer learning loss, the literature review wrapped around the entire study focuses on summer learning loss and the achievement gap. Typically, research says that summer learning loss is greater in math computations than it is in language arts, and that's because of that vocabulary. There's a whole lot involved with math other than just being able to read through the problem. Students have to understand how to compute numbers and understand what symbols represent. And then there's a 15-year longitudinal study that found the difference between low and middle income students, that all of that could be traced back to summer learning loss. Some of those success measures include like graduation rates, the number of students who enroll in like that higher and advanced math once they're in high school. So over time, that summer learning loss is cumulative and it's very detrimental. And so eventually those students may or may not finish high school, and they may or may not try to participate in advanced math at the high school level. The academic achievement gap for this study, that refers to the disparity between students' grades and standardized achievement scores. Research says that nearly 80% of the achievement gap is due to the summer slide, and that's because oftentimes students are not engaged in keeping those skills up, those math and reading skills that they've learned throughout the year. Poor and minority youth are typically 3 grade levels behind by the time they reach 8th grade, which is why this study is so powerful. That summer learning loss is critical. The BELL program is a summer program that stands for Better Educated Leaders for Life. And this program was actually developed by a group of Harvard students that wanted to help students that were low performing in an underserved district. And what this shows is that students that participated in the BELL program, this is data from 2017, their impact report. And it shows here, if you look at the top light gray bar, that students were attaining up to 2 months in reading skills after having participated. And then they were attaining up to 3 months or more in math skills. And then at the very bottom, where it looks as if there's someone falling behind, that's representational of students who do have the summer learning loss when they don't get those summer learning opportunities, such as what they provide in the BELL program.
And again, this is part of your Chapter 2 Lit Review.
Yes, it is. And as far as the program evaluation model that guided the whole research, I'm using Daniel Stufflebean's SIP model, and SIP stands for Context, Input, Process, and Product. And for the sake of the scope of the research that I'm doing, I'm only really using the process and the product piece because this is a program evaluation. And what it's doing is evaluating how effective it is, and you know, because it's been in operation for 10 years and it's never been formally evaluated. And so we're trying to, not really trying to prove anything, but we want to evaluate where we are and what we need to do to get better, if that makes sense.
Does.
The research questions that guide the study, the first research question is, and honestly, I want to be sure that I'm telling you this correctly.
We tweaked those a little bit, didn't we?
We did tweak those just a little bit. So the first research question is, what impact does the Community Math Academy have on students' performance after 3 weeks of participating based on pre and post test data? And then that second question, what are 5th and 6th grade students' perceptions of the Community Math Academy based on common themes and coding of students' journals? And then the last research question pertains to the program qualities. And this is the question that I think we tweaked somewhat. And instead of doing observation data, this question has actually been changed somewhat to survey data. And so what we're going to do is survey the stakeholders in order to see how effective, we really wanted to evaluate the effectiveness of the Community Math Academy. And so this question has been changed somewhat.
And that'll be good for us to talk about it in the process piece at the end.
Okay. The participants in this study are rising 5th and 6th grade students, and the participants were selected based on their historical classroom math grades as well as EOG data, and then also their summer availability, because this program is held in July. Typically, some families may or may not be going on vacation, and so that does play a little bit into whether or not they can enroll. And there were roughly 60 participants from 11 of the local schools, 9 of which are elementary schools in the district, and then 2 schools are intermediate schools. The methodology around this study is mixed methods. Research says that by collecting both quantitative and qualitative, it helps to neutralize the weakness of just using one in isolation, because our methods can have bias. And then the data collection procedures include pre-test and post-test students' journals, and then survey data. Again, that's been changed somewhat. The presentation is not as up to date as the paper is. That's been changed to survey.
Yep, that's correct, and I'll explain that if need be.
Okay. The pre and post test for the study will be administered during the first week, and then that last week, which is the 3rd week of program operation. And then these tests are designed by curriculum coordinators so that they align with Common Core standards. And in order to evaluate the gains and losses in the scores, I'll be using descriptive statistics such as mean, median, mode. There will be a one-way ANOVA used in order to look at like gender, how gender plays into those scores and things like that. Gender and, oh goodness, it's left me. Oh my goodness. How gender and race, I'm sorry. How that looks according to the data. And then students' journals will be evaluated. This is an ongoing process. So students will actually write in their journals daily throughout the 3-week operation. And then students will use sentence starters in order to help with their writing. And sentence starters are things such as what I've learned today is, and what I enjoy about math is, what I find troublesome is. And this is just to kind of help them to get started, because this is in July and typically students are not writing during vacation. Well, what's deemed as vacation month. And then as far as the coding, there will be coding for common themes and perspectives during this process.
Let me, again, I said I wasn't going to interrupt, but now I'll interrupt. Okay. At the conclusion of this presentation, the 2 other members of the committee, Dr. Hunnell and Dr. Hopper, am I correct there? And I talked, and we quizzed Danielle about the observations and her research questions, and felt that a survey would be a better way to answer one of the research questions rather than classroom observations. And so we have asked, though we approved Danielle's proposal, we asked her to go back and tweak this methodology in order to better align with, remember which research question?
It was research question 3.
Okay, so we felt that a survey of the parents and teachers, is that right?
That's right. The parents, teachers, and I think we said community members, in order to allow those stakeholders to get their input.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
because ultimately I'm trying to
this portion and asked her to take out the observations and to create a survey, which Danielle has done, and she had to rewrite that portion of the proposal, but didn't update the presentation. That's fine.
And just to speak a little bit to that, I am using surveys, and they have a Likert scale. So it goes from a scale, I think, of 1 to 5. So it's strongly disagree up to strongly agree, and then 3 being in the middle, neutral. But yes, that answers that research question a lot better than classroom observations.
Thank you, Danielle. Go on and finish your presentation.
Okay. And there are limitations. There's always limitations to a study. And for this study, the limitations include the population size. Because there are roughly 60 students involved, it can't be generalized to much larger populations of students. And then because it focuses only on the mathematics subject, then it can't really be used to compare other subjects. But for the scope of this study, we just looked at, of course, the math subject. And then researcher as evaluator. So I am trying to remain as someone who, of course, we all have bias, but I am trying to remain as someone who is looking at it objectively.
And didn't you build in some ways to try to improve the validity or reliability of your data and to remove some of the bias?
Right. Yes, sir, I did.
You're going to have peer checks or member checks on your coding for the journals.
Right. There will be member checking, just so that it's not just me looking at the data, if that makes sense. Yeah. And in order, like you said, so that it's more reliable and there is validity in the data collection process.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm. And also, and I failed to, it's not in the study, but I did say this before, when the first time, that we are removing descriptors because we don't want to identify the participants in any way. And because IRB does say that we are protecting those participants, the descriptors such as names and things like that will be removed. And so what will happen is students are assigned like a number rather than their name.
Right, right. And we don't need to see the references, to be quite honest, but I would love to I would love to see you. So can you stop the share, and then we'll see if we can go back to just you and I?
Okay.
Yeah, great. I thank you, Danielle. So, thanks so much, and I apologize for all the interruptions. But I think in terms of the teaching part, that's going to be helpful.
Right.
So, in a few more minutes, I would like to just talk with you about the process and how we got there. I think it was really pretty instructive that you brought a presentation and you brought one proposal, which I had said was fine, it's perfectly okay. Brought that to the proposal defense, and then the committee latched onto that idea about the observations and how that wasn't exactly the best way to try to answer research question 3, and that a survey might be a better way to do that.
Right.
And thankfully you agreed, and you have created a survey. So then after the proposal defense, which the whole thing took about 45 minutes, an hour, I guess.
Right.
You and I sat for about another hour or so creating a survey and tweaking the IRB so that, because the form didn't print right, and we had to retype that part about the methodology to take out the observations and put in about the surveys and stuff like that. So it is a good idea when we come to a proposal defense to block out a couple of hours.
It is, yes.
And we did that on June 12th, and today we're recording this on June 21st. We submitted all of our your IRB paperwork on the 12th, but we still haven't heard anything back from the Institutional Review Board, right?
Not yet. We're waiting patiently.
We're waiting patiently, not so patiently on my end. And let's see, what else? Because the Summer Academy starts in July, and you would like to start to collect data then so that you can, in the big picture of things, collect your data in July, write in August and September, and do a final defense in December.
Right.
In September, right?
That's the plan. Yes.
And then walk in December.
Right.
Walk in December.
And it has been a process. I think we started 2013. It's been about 5 years.
Okay. Why? How come it took that long, Danielle? Because you knew you wanted to do a program evaluation of the Summer Math Academy way back then, didn't you?
And honestly, life happens. And I literally took a semester where I just did not write. And then that semester of not writing turned into a year. And so, and within that time, I did change jobs. And so I've come out of the classroom from being a 5th grade teacher to now a curriculum technology coordinator. And I've been in this position now 3 years. So within the process,
a child too, didn't you?
I've changed jobs, and we've also adopted our son. So there's been, life has happened.
Life has happened big time for you.
All the writing. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But honestly, my husband is getting his dissertation. He's at Gardner-Webb as well. And so it's helped, and I know this may sound like the strangest thing in all the world because it sounds stressful, but his stress has helped push me, so to speak. And so our goal is to finish this year. I think that he may come out in August, honestly. So he may be in that summer graduation group, and I'll be more in that fall group, but that's fine by me. If I can the goal is this year.
Danielle, I think that you have a great proposal, a great research set of questions and topic. I think, again, when we look at the Math Academy in Cleveland, it's doing good work, but now you're going to be able to say with some authority and with some data that hopefully you'll be able to say that it's doing some good work. And also, as you mentioned, that there might be room for improvement. And so it's going to be a win-win for you, for Gardner-Webb, for Cleveland County, I think, when we have a final defense in the fall. It has been a struggle and a long journey for you, I know, but God bless you. You hung in there.
Yes.
And despite life happening. And
I will say, during the process, you've done a great job, Dr. Palermo. Thank you. Because you made sure, even during my semester and my year off, of checking in and saying, hello, this is your coach. Send a message back, a smoke signal. How are you doing? So you've done a great job of trying to push me along too. So I do say thank you.
You're embarrassing me, but okay. Thanks for that. Those kind words. Danielle, what else has been helpful to you in the process?
Honestly, and I'm sure your students have this as well, because I know that we purchased this one, but there's a book, and it's the research designed by John Creswell, and this one has been really good, just as far as research itself and knowing how, as far as picking out like the mixed methods, do I do all qualitative, quantitative, or do I do a mixed method study? This is really good at trying to figure out which fits your study.
Right.
And it clearly breaks it down. I've also used, during this time, it's kind of warm, but the program evaluate, because mine is a program evaluation, I've used the Fitzpatrick program eval book throughout this process, and it's helped a great deal.
Good. Thank you for sharing that stuff. That's about all that I think I wanted to accomplish today, and we did it in about 30 minutes. Any last thoughts, inspiration?
Well, I would just say to anyone, just continue writing, and even there'll be days that you completely just feel like you've nailed it. You found your resources, the writing is just flowing, it's all coming together, and then there'll be days where you feel like, what in the world? And you may not even love the study as much that day, but stay committed to the process and try to write each day. and at least, if not each day, because I know that may sound unrealistic, but at least try and write on the weekend. Block out a time that you can write on the weekend. And honestly, my husband and I both found that it's helping us if we do like a research day where we're pulling articles and books to support the study. One day is just gathering the material. And then the next day is actually digging into it and applying it to the study and writing. So sometimes it's hard to actually research and write all at the same time. And I think that's what happened to me. The literature, honestly, right now, out of chapters 1, 2, and 3, that chapter 2 was the absolute hardest thing, the literature review. It's wrapped around summer programs, but for some reason, it just seemed like the hardest thing.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that's great advice and great feedback. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate your willingness to share this with my class. And I will let you know just as soon as I hear anything from Gardner Webb.
Awesome. Thank you.
Have a great evening.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.